Much of the rail network we see across Adelaide today was shaped by plans drawn up in the mid to late 2000s. And while the promised trams never made it to Football Park, and there were big delays to the modernising of tracks in Adelaide's south and north.
Is it good news? No, it's not. Is it the news I wanted to be saying? No, it's not.
Those lines did get electrified eventually. Now, nearly 20 years later, Labor is again looking at big investments in our transport network with a focus on rail. The first step, a $10 million scoping study, jointly funded by the state and federal governments.
Once we get that understanding, we can start rolling out infrastructure to deal with what is an ever-expanding city and a population boom.
Currently, train services extend across the city and into the hills to Gawler, but improvements on every line are now being considered. Among the rail projects that could receive the green light is a 9-kilometre extension south from Seaford to Aldinga.
We're very excited in the south. The further it goes, the better it will be.
Additions to the Outer Harbour line have also been flagged, with a possible extension to ASC to accommodate AUKUS submarine workers.
Whether we actually extend the Outer Harbour line right down to Osborne to try and get 5,000 workers to and from the shipyards.
North of Adelaide, there are calls for train services as far as Tanunda in the Barossa Valley, with the hope it will at least be extended 7 kilometres from Gawler to the proposed city of Concordia.
That in the future is going to be 26,000 people, so that's a huge population growth within our council area, and of course public transport is critical.
For the Adelaide Hills, various options are again being scrutinised, including an extension of services from Gawler to Mount Barker, where the population is expected to rise to 47,000 by 2036.
The Labor Party has unfinished business in Mount Barker. We're the ones that zone Mount Barker, and we're the ones who've got to fix it.
But that could be easier said than done, with congestion already a problem.
It's pretty busy, yeah. There's a lot of traffic going on between here and the city.
And one estimate for the Hills Rail solution has put the cost at $5 billion. Former Transport Executive Luigi Rossi, now Director for the SA Railway Company, says a new freight and commuter line to Mount Barker and beyond, while costly, is feasible.
The beauty of rail is it provides the opportunity for people to live at Murray Bridge, live at Tail and Bend, and have a rail service that would get them into Adelaide within 50 minutes.
Up until 40 years ago, trains ran constantly on some of the lines where new services are being considered. The Barossa once had a thriving rail system, and in Mount Barker, old tracks are maintained, despite services from the city ending in 1987.
All of us in the hills rue the day when rail departed. It fell out of fashion.
But the switch back to trains appears to be gaining momentum.
We did have a good network. Obviously, with the advent of private cars, the patronage dropped off, but things have changed. We're seeing more regional growth, so that provides potentially more economic opportunities for rail to perhaps have a bit of a resurgence.
With passenger numbers yet to return to pre-COVID levels, the government is hoping to make catching public transport simpler and more attractive, so that as the city grows, people opt out of their cars and onto trains.
Public transport can solve a lot of these problems, but we lost that in the 80s, and we're trying to get it back.
People are very cynical because 2 years in, the government has wasted that time.
And with Adelaide already in the grip of a housing crisis, time is ticking for the government to decide which track to back and when. James Wakelin, ABC News.